Hey folks, I just thought I'd do this little video to talk to you about the Mandela effect. Now, I don't know how it's affected everybody else, but I just thought I'd share with you how I came to know about it and how it's affected me, what particular changes I've noticed, what's come my way, and what I actually think is going on with it, or what could be the reason why it's happening. Now, for me, I'd never even taken any notice of the Mandela effect or known what it was until my birthday last year, 2016. But a funny thing happened. It was either the day, I think it was the day before, it was a Saturday. And this particular day, I couldn't decide what to do with myself. My sister was in town and she said, do I want to come and meet her? There was something going on. I couldn't decide if I was going, if I wasn't going. If I was going myself or if I was giving a lift to somebody. What I was wearing. What I was doing. I was most out of sorts with myself. I wasn't myself. Anyway, I went and met her. We went to this thing. And then I left her and I was still most out of sorts with myself. And I ended up driving all around the county, visiting various places where I'd had... whether I'd lived or whether I'd known people, and kind of gathering up all my energy from these places. It was weird. I didn't know why I was doing it, but this is the kind of day I had, a very strange, out of sorts day when I didn't know what I was doing or where I was going. I was going to have to change this. I've got arm ache. Anyway, so that particular night, I remember looking on the internet, and that's when I first watched a video that was talking about what is the Mandela effect. Oh, and something else that I noticed as well happened was I noticed my waist got thinner. All of a sudden I thought, oh, I seem to have got thinner, but I haven't been dieting. Anyway, the next day I watched this video about the Mandela effect and started looking into what on earth had gone on. So I'm not saying that, like, on that day I stepped into a new reality, but I'm just telling you how it happened for me. It was just odd that I'd gone around sort of like doing all this stuff. And then I remember looking in the Bible and seeing a few things that people have said have changed about the wineskins. I remember looking in a very old Bible that I actually got at home and seeing it said bottles and not wineskins, which is, if you're familiar with the Mandela effect, if you just Google it, it's a very common line in the Bible where it definitely used to say, don't put old wine into new wineskins. But now it says don't put old wine into new bottles, but they didn't have bottles back in Jesus' time. All sorts of insignificant changes. What's actually happening is various things are changing. Anyway, time goes on and I looked into a few of these so-called changes and spoke to various people, and I noticed that there seems to be some people who are open-minded to the Mandela effect, even though they're normally the very close-minded people. And there are some people who are very normally open-minded, who are in denial that it's happening. For example, a friend of mine who happens to be a chap, I just see him for coffees every now and again, but he's quite open-minded, talks about astrology and all sorts of things. But actually, when I said to him, one of the things that he said he remembered was how you spelled the name Charles Schulz, who is the drawer of the Snoopy cartoon series, or at least weighs the cards. I don't know if he's drove it, or I think he's the creator of it. Well, his name spelling's changed, but even though he told me how it was definitely with a T, once I said, well, no, it hasn't got a T, well, I probably remember it wrong. So that's what I'm saying. It's an interesting how it seems to be certain people that are open to it. Whereas my sister, I remember her showing her this map, and she got a little map book that she'd had forever. She looked at it and she said, well, actually, yeah, don't remember that country used to look different to that, and that used to look different to that. Likewise, my eldest daughter, who's normally very matter of fact and thinks a lot of the stuff I'm into is just plain poppycock, actually, she's actually quite open-minded and actually has had to say, well, actually, yeah, that is different. It is weird. So that's the first couple of things I'm noticing. Then I was actually in a book. I was in the market with my friend one day, just a little bric-a-brac market down the road, and I came across this book, which was £1. Nice Wives. But actually, this is I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, this is the book. I don't know if I don't know what the camera's doing basically. But anyway, this is the title that's normally called Good Wives. But this one is called Nice Wives. It's weird. And what is weird as well is if you actually open the cover of this book, which you can't actually see, but written in the front of this book is dates. There's the numbers 267 written 3 times. It's written, I don't know if you can see, it's once there, and it's written twice, sort of very faintly there. Anyway, I'm no expert on numbers at all. But when I added up these numbers, I realised that if you added it up, sort of reduced it down to a number, or if you put them 3 on top of each other and did them that way, the point is, I can't remember now, and I'm not going to go into the numerology of it, but it was significant because it tied up with my birthday. You know, when I told you that everything just seemed to change for me? Anyway, whatever. The point is, that's that. But just this last week, you know, and some people could say, well, maybe it was just that copy of that book that was called Nice Wives. Maybe the publishers published some in that. There's always people that can say, maybe, what if, did you actually know that that line in the Bible definitely said that, definitely didn't say that. But something's happened to me this last week, which unequivocally, 100% without a shadow of a doubt, is flipping weird. And I want to show you this book, right? I've had this book. Can you see that? 101 songs for easy guitar. I've had it since I was about 18. Won't go into how long ago that is. But basically, I've had that book a long time, and I do actually do songs sometimes, go and play them and perform them. One of the ones I do is California Dreaming, and the words have always said, I went into a church and I began to pray. It's always been those words. And now it's changed and it says, I pretend to pray. And that is not the words. Right, and I'll show you there, if it says at the top of that page there, I pretend to pray. I mean, I don't know what you can see through the view. I'm sorry if it's like this, but I haven't got a thingy on my computer at home, so I can't do screencast because I haven't got the... I suppose I could if I plugged in a microphone. I haven't got a microphone. Anyway, this is the best we can do at the moment. Point is, it's changed. It's definitely gone from I began to pray and I pretend to pray it is now. And what is even more weird, I took a photocopy of that music and I've got it in a folder and it's changed on the photocopy. And this is how weird the Mandela effect is. So anyway, the point is, what's it all about? Well, I think what it's all about, people talk about alternative realities. You know, have we gone into an alternative reality? I don't think that would be the case. Because I think if we'd have gone into an alternative reality, things wouldn't continue to change like that. We wouldn't know. I mean, I was listening to some of those videos by Dolores, is it Cannon or something? She was talking about alternative realities. And also Bashar, he talks about alternative realities. But why would we just suddenly be noticing weird things changing in realities now? Or could it be this? This is what I'm wondering, if it is this. This is what I possibly think it could be, to be honest. I read a comment that somebody left on one of these videos that I was watching about, I have to keep moving because I'm getting arm about the Mandela effect. And somebody wrote, it's little changes in the past that affect the future. Now, I think that is more likely to be what it is, in all honesty. I mean, the maps have changed. I don't know if the physical size of the of the countries has changed. I mean, that's bizarre, I know, to say the maps have changed. I definitely remember South America being more directly underneath North America, but we can talk about this till the cows come home. And some people will have noticed these changes. Some people just carry on as if they've always been like that, because it's too bizarre for them to think it's changed. But this is what I think is possibly, potentially going on. People talk about CERN, I don't know what's going on with that. But have you seen the magician called Dynamo? Because I've only seen him on television. But he can definitely change reality. And that, after all, is magic. That is what the magicians of ancient times have always tried to do, to physically, magically change physical reality. Now, to us, it probably might have been something that we seemed... that's ridiculous, that can't happen. But actually it can happen. You know, it can happen instantly. Because obviously he's got the knack of doing it, Dynamo. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his stuff, but I've seen him push feathers through things. It's for real. And also, even this was to do with sacred geometry, this healing modality that I studied before, which is life alignment. And in there they use, in fact, this pendant here is part of this. This is part of this whole thing. It's Vortex Healing, God knows what. Anyway, the point is that I've seen people with that modality whereby they've been lying on the couch and one leg's been out of alignment and not straight and the hips aren't straight. And after the balance, it does actually line up. So you can change physical reality. And that's what's obviously happening by someone who's changing all of this stuff. I mean, if you go back to Uri Geller, he could bend spoons. People can change physical reality. And somebody somewhere is tinkering with physical reality and changing these words in songs. Now, this is the thought I want to leave you with, which I've spent all this time waffling on to get to this point. But I don't know if you remember, you probably wouldn't if you're not probably that old as me, or didn't know at the time. But I remember there was something that was talked about called the butterfly effect in the past. I remember this came out at the same time as there was something to do with fractals. And basically, if the butterfly effect is this, it was when people noticed that, say you'd got a hurricane that was projected to be going in a certain direction, or a weather system that was projected to be going in a certain way, something as subtle as the wings of a butterfly creating that little turbulence could actually affect the path of what actually happened. Now that sounds crazy, and I haven't Googled it, but I just remember it. And I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember this thing called the butterfly effect. And basically it was that little tiny changes somewhere can make big changes down the line. Maybe this is the thing with that movie, Back to the Future. I mean, people who talk a lot about the Mandela effect, I think there's even something that's changed in there. There's all sorts of changes that you can look into if you want to about the Mandela effect. But I just thought, seeing as I'd actually got something to say about this, and seeing as it is flipping weird, I'd just show you, for the Mandela effect collectors, that I have this copy of this book, Nice Wives. It's weird. I actually haven't read the book. And it's funny because then I didn't even realise that I had a copy of that book when I opened a knitting bag sometime later. So, another copy, not that says Nice Wives, the original one that says Good Wives. Maybe there's a message for me in that book. I ought to read it, but I'm not really much of a novel reader. Anyway, I'm sorry if this has been a bit waffly and not making any relevant points, other than it's just weird. And the only thing I think we can take from it, and this is another thing I wanted to actually say, is this. When we used to talk about co-creation in the 9th wave, which was basically the fact that in the 9th wave of the Mayan calendar, the flip point that would be achieved by humanity would be when we actually realise that we are conscious co-creators of our reality. I think it's important now that we take this on board and don't get sucked back into victim mentality with this. If someone's clever enough to change the words of songs, even in an insignificant, stupid way, and if Dynamo's clever enough to change reality with physical pushing feathers through things, or changing people's tattoos on their skin, and I've seen a lot of the stuff he's done and it's bizarre, then we're consciously able to create our own reality too. It's just that we're not used to it, we're not trained to it. A few months ago now, before Christmas, I was out having dinner somewhere with some people, and we took these little cards with us that were like icebreaker dinner party card things. And anyway, I was just sort of like passing these cards to someone, and I just gave someone this actual card that was theirs. I said, that's your card. It's weird. Without thinking of it, I was subconsciously tuning into their energy. They'd actually picked up that card before. When you see people like David Blaine and people like Dynamo, and they know that's your card, they just know it because they've actually tuned into this energy. They do it quite naturally. It's just that we're not trained to do it. But what I'm saying with these cards, it's like, that was your card. But now if you ask me now, go through a pack of cards and pick out a certain person's card, I couldn't do it. But just because I wasn't thinking about it, that's yours. We need to create our own reality. Don't get freaked out by the Mandela effect. Don't start thinking it's CERN doing this to us. Don't go there. If some people are clever enough to create reality, we're clever enough to create reality. Nobody's cleverer than us. It's just that they've learned to do it, that's all. You know, if anybody can learn to play a flute, flute's quite hard to pick up and do until you've learnt the action of blowing the thing. But once you have, we're all capable of learning a flute. But if we'd never seen a flute before, if we were cave people and someone comes along playing a flute, we'd be like, whoa. And this is all that's going on here. These people that are doing this, whether it's Dynamo, whether it's Uri Geller, whether it's whoever, has learned to manipulate reality. No, not manipulate, to change it, to alchemists. They've just learned a skill that we've not learnt yet because they've applied themselves to learning it. And they believe that they can learn it. And this is what we need to do. And I will just say one more thing here while we're going into this. Don't buy into the news. The news is just ridiculous. I mean, I might just do another video about the news. But anyway, don't buy into the news because they are just manipulating what we believe. It's all ridiculous. That's another story. The fact is, it's time for us to take control of our own reality and take control of our own power. And, yeah, that's it then, folks. Anyway, I hope this comes out all right. Thanks then. Bye.